In this exercise, we'll see how to translate pumpkin as a freely moving body on the screen. Now, we know in order to translate, we need to update the center at a regular interval of time. So, we need to call a function repeatedly which will update the pumpkin center position. So, we'll be creating a function, say update game, and here we'll first try to achieve the looping of this game update game function. So I'll say print ln update game. Now if you say for loop in view.load and call this method, that will get called millions of times in a second. We need to loop this function in a human seconds, say 30 times in a second, which gives me 30 fps, 30 frames per second. Now in order to achieve that, we need to create the iOS or Cocoa Touch or Foundation framework gives you a object called ns timer. Now with ns timer, you can schedule the time interval, you can tell which function to be called on which object, and you can tell whether you want to get repeated or you want to do it only once. So after time elapsed, the function timer will call that function again and again, again and again. So something like that architect we need to achieve that looping of the update game. So in view.load, we'll create an object of ns timer, which is a thread, which is a time-based thread, which will be getting called at a regular interval of time, which we have scheduled. So there's a method called schedule time with interval, and we'll take the second option. Okay, so now time interval, I'll say I want 30 frames per second, so I'll say 10 divided by 30.0. We are doing floating point division, never use integer division, because integer division will return the caution, whereas we need a proper floating value. Target means in object oriented programming, you cannot call a method directly. You need an object and then the method. So in this context, I want to call, the controller says I want to call my own function, update function. So the target basically is a receiver, so we'll say self. So you want to call your own method. Now the third parameter is a function pointer. Now till now we never passed function name as an argument. Now if you want to pass function name as an argument, there is always, it refers as a function pointer. Now every language have its own way of passing a function as a parameter. So here we call selector. So when you call selector, you have to pass function name as a string parameter to the selector. User info means parameter to the function. Now in our case, update game doesn't have any parameter, so I'll say nil. And do you want to repeatedly call this method again and again after time interval? So you say true. So this will result into the repetition of calling the update game again and again at 30 fps. Now let's try and see the output. So when you do this, you'll see update games keeps on calling. See, it keeps on calling. So when you have achieved that looping in terms of frame fps. In next exercise, we'll write the code where a pumpkin will bounce randomly inside the screen.